The one he was going over last week?
Yeah, I wish he would make a video of it.
That would be nice.
I'm working on it.
All right.
I still haven't finished it, believe it or not.
Oh, I believe it. It sounds like a never-ending thing, you know?
It's crazy how many keywords I actually came up with. And you know, with SEO, when you're filtering the keywords, you're mass filtering stuff out. So you can take a 50,000 keyword list down to 500 keywords and nothing flat. Well, here it's not like that. We're using all the keywords and we're having to sift and sort them into groups. And man, I'm telling you, it's taking a long time. You know, granted, I haven't, you know, dedicated big blocks of time to it. I've just, you know, been an hour here, a couple hours there, but I am still chunking at it. Let me take a look here and see. I've got my 50,000 down to 1,800.
I'd love to see how you did that.
But yeah, I'll actually, if you guys want, I can give you a copy of it when I'm done with it.
I would love a copy.
But I have got tabs all the way across the bottom. I've segregated it into sales keywords, marketing keywords, copywriting keywords, courses, traffic, client acquisition, social media, agencies, email marketing, letter. There's a ton of them about letters, how to write a letter, promotional letters and things. Advertising. And the reason that I didn't lump together letters and copywriting was simply because of ACT. You know, it's that segmentation. If their language is letters and that's what they're talking about, I don't want to throw copywriting at them because that's not their language. So that's the reason why I'm segmenting this list out so, you know, so defined, so granularly. And I've got one about scripts, you know, people that are talking about scripts, leads, Facebook, pay-per-click, SEO. I found a great number of them that were just related to car sales. So I segregated those out into their own list. People refer to it as promotion. You know, some people call this marketing, some people call it advertising, some call it promotion. So really important that you get the languaging right, so so you can do that. So you can make sure that you know, when you're talking to them, when you're writing your own copy, that you're on base and on track.
Just lost your audio.
Yeah, I had to give a little side note there. So I forgot to turn the water off in the backyard, so I was just telling Barb to do that. But anyway, you know, back to this, the reason that this keyword research is taking so long is because I'm literally having to go through and segment out this massive list of keywords into these buckets. And I just realized the other day, I'm like, oh my God, when I get this segregated out, then the segregation starts again. Because each one of those buckets now is going to get segregated. Like the advertising bucket, for instance, there's probably 10 different segments inside that bucket. So it's crazy how much effort is behind this. I would love to train an outsourcer to do this, but I'm going to have to train them how to think, because this really, I mean, it's a thinking man's game or thinking woman's game here of what bucket they go into. Because some of them cross the line. You have to figure out, you know, which bucket do they belong in. And but I can tell you this: there's just massive opportunity in this, and I don't believe anybody's doing keyword research like this. It's like, you know, in fishing, there's places where you can go fishing that no one else fishes because they're so far out. There's no pressure. And when you go out there, it's just all you want. And I think this is going to be the same.
And that's
Because,
why it's so exciting.
yeah, because, you know, everybody's after the quick hit. They're after the keyword tool that's going to give them the answer. And guess what? That keyword tool gives everyone else the same answer. So this is really exciting stuff. There's a tremendous amount of these keywords that have no cost per click. There's no competition. Now, granted, that might be a reason on some of them, but I'm seeing a lot of them that these are good keywords. These are good commercially viable keywords. So again, it's really cool stuff. And also it gives you an idea when you look at the segments. If the segment has some real high pay-per-click and some real high volumes of traffic, that just tells you that that's something that you need to create content for. So what I'm going to get out of this, you know, in SEO in the past, we've talked about siloing, creating content based on silos. And all that is, it's categorization. It's segmentation at its best. So this keyword research project it's going to actually tell me what pages to create, what content to create, what landing pages to create, and what ad campaigns to run. So talk about some really good analysis, some really good research. I am going to base landing page creation on this. So again, it completely follows ACT. It's analysis, then creation, and then traffic. So this is going to be a really, really good prime example of how to do this stuff. And it's going to separate the men from the boys, because I can assure you there's not very many people that are going to do this. If I taught this, you know, out to the whole SEO community, they'd just tell me I'm nuts. They're like, I'm not working that hard. There's no way. But, you know, that's why few people make it, and the majority doesn't. They're not willing to do what it takes. So you guys have questions about how I was doing that, how I went into SEMrush? I think I actually recorded that a couple weeks back on how to do that. But I'm happy to, I'll actually probably create a whole new keyword research video on that for you guys once I get this done, and I can go back and not have to you know, go through all the process. It wouldn't be good for a 87-hour video.
It'd be good for the traffic portion.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I mean, it sounds like really, really great stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to add another traffic section to this as well about the influencers, because that's really powerful. That is something that a lot of people are not taking advantage of, and it gets over a lot of hurdles. It gets over the hurdle of not having the money for ad spend. It gets over the hurdle of not having a list. It gets over a lot of different hurdles, because what you're doing, in essence, you're going out to someone that has your ideal list. You know, they have done all the work to create that mailing list. They've gathered up your ideal customers and they've got them in their database. So what you're doing, you know, it's almost like the affiliate marketing scenario. You're going out, you're reaching out, and you're cutting a deal. You're saying, hey, if you will promote this, or if you'll put your people on a webinar, introduce me to your audience, and let's do a webinar together, I will give you a percentage of the sales. That's exactly what it's like. The other thing is, a lot of these guys will do it for just you know, a small fee, which is even better, because then you don't have to pay them the commissions. You know, if you could get somebody to introduce you to their list, and their list is really responsive and it's really, really targeted to what you're doing, and you can get some insight into the demographic of the list and maybe their languaging, you could do, you know, if they don't want to do a webinar. I've had a few people in the past that they're kind of freaked out about a webinar. They didn't want to be on. They didn't want to be on camera. That just the whole idea of a webinar freaked them out, but they had a good audience. So what I did, I offered to just make a video, and they just sent the video out to their group. Well, guess what? The video was a webinar, really. It's just a sales video. That's all a webinar is. So I went through, taught them how to do something, and it happened to do with our Rainmaker product. And she sent it out to her list and made a good amount of sales. So it was pretty cool. So that's something that you're going to want to look at in influencer marketing. That's a good way to test out your landing pages too, without dumping a bunch of money on them to find out that they didn't work for one reason or another. Because when you do a webinar, it gives you a live opportunity to find out what the objections are. When you send people to a landing page, let's say you just send cold traffic through, and you've got your landing page. Maybe you're doing a free giveaway, whatever you're doing as your lead magnet, and then you're sending them on to an education-based thing, whether it be a sales video or a webinar or whatever it is, whatever your sales vehicle is. You don't really have a chance in that automated process to figure out, why did the ones that didn't buy, why did they not buy? At least on a live webinar, you can throw out the questions. You can say, hey, any of you that are really not considering this, or you're going to pass on this, could you just tell me why? Could you tell me, what I could do better? And you'll be surprised. You'll get the feedback. People are not afraid to speak up on a lot of that kind of stuff. Yeah, you'll get a bunch that won't, that'll sit there silent, but all you need is, the general consensus. You don't need to hear from everybody. You can also do it in a poll. You could send a poll out and poll them and get the poll results. Sometimes people are more apt to type in a poll than they would be to, jump out live. So lots of ways to get feedback using these influencers. And again, if it's a good match, if they've got your exact target market, that's a great way to go. It's quick, it's easy, and it's inexpensive. Whatever you decide, if you're going to pay the person, a one-shot deal, or if you're going to give them a commission on the sales, it doesn't really matter. But when you can do the commission stuff, it's almost like a commission salesperson. They're coming to work for you, but they don't get paid unless they make a sale. So it's kind of cool. It reduces your overhead and it reduces your risk. So
it's kind of like a solo ad, right?
Well, yeah. A solo ad is where you're paying someone to drop your email into their advertisement. Generally, what I'm used to on a solo ad is an email.
Right.
A lot of them have an email list, and they're doing a drop. Sometimes they'll call it a drop or a solo ad. And yeah, it's just they're emailing their list an introduction to you, and sometimes they'll do that for a fee. If it's somebody that has a newsletter, they're much more likely to do it as a fee, because it's just an advertisement in their newsletter. It just kind of pays for their time. And when you get into the influencer market, I've heard feedback from some people that didn't want to do that because they didn't think those influencers really want to deal with them. And I'm like, you couldn't be further from the truth. That's why they do what they do. They're building that audience so they can make money with it. So you're a money-making opportunity for them to use to get benefit out of their list that they built. So don't approach it that way. I mean, don't build roadblocks and fences that don't exist. I see that a lot. People don't do stuff because they think in their mind it's not going to work, or they build monsters. Try not to chase ghosts in your business. If you find a real problem, then deal with it, but don't create problems. Don't go into something assuming it's not going to work. You know, if you go into it and it doesn't work, look at why it didn't work, and if it's really worthwhile, then fix it and make it work. But don't just throw up a bunch of roadblocks out in front of yourself to derail you and sabotage you. I see that a lot. I see that especially in younger people. A lot of the millennials and stuff, they are so skeptical. They've got all this junk in their head that's not real. It's not based on reality. They'll hear stuff, and they'll see, somebody got screwed, so, oh yeah, I'm never going to do business. I'm never going to do that. It's like, there's a really good analogy for that about pizza. I ask people, have you ever bit into a really hot, fresh piece of pizza and burnt your mouth, burnt your tongue? That's a bad experience. It doesn't mean the pizza's bad. It just meant that, you didn't bite it at the opportune time. So are you going to stop eating pizza altogether? Is pizza bad because you did something stupid and you you took a hot piece of pizza and you put it in your mouth and burnt yourself? Take responsibility for the failures, and correct them and move forward. You'll have a good experience eating pizza. So same thing with business. Don't let that stuff, don't create problems that aren't there. Let's see. Anybody got any questions or anything you specifically want me to cover? For those of you that are working with clients, clients are one of the biggest ones to create stuff that doesn't exist. They will throw stuff at you that you'll spend your time researching and stuff to figure out that that doesn't even have anything to do with anything. So careful of that one.
Especially demanding clients.
Well, you've got one doing that to you right now, don't you?
I've got two, yes.
Yeah, no, it's very common, very, very common when you're working with clients. They sit out there. It's like they're in the ether thinking about everything that could go wrong, and then they start seeing stuff. Or worse yet, if you ever get into web development, that is probably one of the worst. Because if you get into web development, what'll happen is they will tell you exactly what they want. You will build a mock-up that reflects exactly what they want, and they'll approve it. And then you go to work and you build out the site. You get it, and it's it's right to the mock-up, it's right to the specification, and you'll be in the final stages. And they'll come back and they'll say, oh, well, my neighbor looked at it. He doesn't like it. He thinks it should be this way. And unless you've really well defined that in your contracts and stuff, you're going to wind up building that site 3, 4, 5 times before you finally either throw in the towel or put your foot down. So you've got to make sure that if you're whatever you're doing with clients, that the parameters are well defined and the expectations are clearly defined and that they're met. And that's where the end of that project lies. And then if there's another project, it's a new billing cycle. It's a new project. It's one thing, clients can drag stuff out, especially web development stuff. You've got to clearly define the project. I've gotten into this a couple times with real estate people. They'll tell you, oh, I only want 3 or 4 pages. And you say, okay, so you quote it based on the 3 or 4 pages. And then you build the site and you realize that they really wanted about 50 or 60 pages, but they don't want to get rebuilt for that extra additional work. So be careful if you're doing that type of stuff, client work. Really easy to expand the walls of the project without expanding the budget.
Hi, John.
Hey, Lewis, how's it going?
Very good, thanks. I'd like to ask you a question related to the opportunity I told you last week.
Sure.
So basically, on last Tuesday, a girl, I suppose from HR, asked me a bunch of questions, and quite close to the end of the, let's say, interview, she asked me, let's say, 2-3 questions that make me think they were looking for information. Because the email I sent you, it was basically the feedback I gave them about the question they asked me about the site and how I would improve in SEO terms. So basically, 2 questions that the girl asked me was, what agency or professionals are you looking in terms of innovation in SEO, and why?
Oh, so they wanted to know who you're following and who you're learning from.
And later, and she said, "Give me 3 sources." So
yeah, that's kind of dicey. I mean, they could, if they know things on a high level, if they're really into the industry, they might just want to know what your tactics are, what kind of profile you're built out of. But from when I looked at that document that you had sent me and what you're saying, I think they're probably fishing for information.
Yes, that's what I think. Because
especially, I don't know if I told you or not, but I put that URL into SEMrush to see how many links they had and
they have
how many
lot
keywords. And I gotta tell you, that site is heavily been SEO'd for a long time.
I know, but when I saw the site and I provide the feedback, I thought, I mean, I gave them one tip or one improvement in each section, let's say. And for me, it was so obvious, but so no-brainer.
Yeah.
But for me, it's no-brainer, and it is the tip of the iceberg. In theory, they should have realized or should have found that, and also this agency is specialized in lawyers. So that's why I think they were fishing.
Yeah, because I am sure they have a very large staff that's working on SEOing that site, and this might just be part of their process to figure out, hey, what are we missing? That might be, but I think one thing that, no matter how big the teams are and all that, I think one of the things that's really heavily overlooked in SEO is truly the marketing portion of it. The actual content of the site, making sure that it really truly matches the audience and engages them and all that stuff. And one of the things, I've talked about this before, this actually comes back to keyword research. And what you can do, you can scrape different review sites. So you could scrape all their reviews and their testimonials. And what you want to do is you want to segregate those reviews into good reviews and into bad reviews. And you're scraping all the content into one big jumbo text file. And then what you do is you run that in another keyword density analysis, and you see which keywords are being used most frequently. And what that'll do, that'll give you the languaging of the people that were happy with the service, and it'll also give you the languaging of the people that didn't like it. So that gives you a really good insight into your copywriting and to building your marketing materials for those pages. Because if you know all the stuff they didn't like, you can actually use that to your advantage in the copy, if you do it correctly. You can also take all the stuff that they really like, that really appealed to them, and you can change up the languaging to match that. A lot of times you'll find that people use certain words. When you go into different niches and different groups, different audiences, you'll see that they have different wording that they use. They use different vocabulary. You know, yeah, it's in the same language, but it's different vocabulary. It's different slang. It's different use of terms. And you'll find this even segmenting out in age groups. Like older people use some sayings that they learned as kids that we're not even aware of. You know, we never heard that stuff. So you can pick that up. If you can glean that stuff off of that type of keyword research and use that to your advantage, you will convert better. You will hold their attention. You'll grab their attention. You'll get better click-through ratios. Like if you use those words in your titles and in your descriptions and into your calls to action, think how much higher your click-through ratio would be. Because if somebody that uses a particular slang or language, if they see that in the title, they're going to be so much more apt to click on your link versus the other 9 on the page. That is, I guarantee you, that's going to throw your conversion ratio through the roof. That is, you know, one of the best SEO factors around right now is click-through ratio. You know, who's clicking, who's going through to the site. That's a great place to start right there. And I can assure you, most SEO companies are not doing that. They're not thinking like that. They're doing the same old stuff they've always done. They're playing with the H1 tags, and they're putting in the meta tags, and they're putting them in. They're not using that common logic of what is the person on the other side going to really appeal to. So by doing that, that really is going to give you a leg up. That's going to set you way apart, and it's also going to get you the results that you want. You know, that's going to take your results, and they're going to stand on their own. But you know, the proof is in the pudding. That's one of those sayings. The proof is in the pudding. That's a saying of an older generation. You know, you say that to kids, and they're like, "What pudding?" You know. But that's something that's a common phrase amongst an older generation. The proof's in the pudding. So if you were marketing to an older crowd about marketing and you said the proof's in the pudding, here's some results that we got, you're going to really turn those guys on. You know, they're going to say, wow, okay, I see, the proof's in the pudding. Okay, problem solved. You know, that's the claim proof benefit. That's the proof. Proof, it literally states it. Proof is in the pudding. I can see the pudding. There's the proof. So, you know, that's a good way. It's a really good analogy of, you know, why that stuff works and how to use it. So figure out, you know, what do they say? Like if you look at testimonials, let's say you scrape all the testimonials off all your competitors and you see, you know, the proofs in the pudding shows up on your keyword density, you know, a high percentage of time, you might want to use that. You might want to use it in your titles. You know, you might want to use it in your headers of your pages. You might want to use it in your calls to action. It might work really well for you. You know, and it goes the same for anything. Anything that shows up a high number of times in keyword density when you're doing those kind of keyword scrapes is going to be something you should seriously consider. Some other stuff, you know, SEO talks a lot about relevancy. Relevancy is still huge. Relevancy is the reason people click. So if you've got information that is coming from a very large dated range, like let's say you're doing something, I see this all the time in the new keto diet stuff. The keto diet has been around for a while, but there's always new information. Now, if you're interested in something, one of the things that's really going to grab your attention is new information that was not available before. So when you put the date in your title, just discovered, just discovered September 2018. How relevant is that when somebody searches and they see that in the title? Which one do you think they're going to click? They're going to click that one because it's totally relevant. It's relevant right now, today. It's this month. They don't want keto information from last year. And when they look at a bunch of titles and search results and none of them have dates on it, their assumption is this is old. So anything that you can do to increase your relevancy is going to increase your engagement, going to increase your click-through ratio, going to increase all of that, and it's going to raise you up in Google's eyes. They're going to look at you as being more relevant because more people clicked on you. They don't know why. They're not saying, oh, well, we're going to give them better ratings because they've got a date in their title. That's not why they're giving you the rank. They're giving you the rank because of the user interaction. It's using your noodle to figure out, what is going to be interesting to these people, what's going to be compelling, what's going to draw them in and get them to take that call to action. So, it's pretty simple stuff.
So, John?
Yeah, go ahead.
There's one thing that relevancy decreases.
What's that?
And that's the cost of your ads.
Oh, there you go. I like that. Yeah, that's exactly true. The more relevant you get, the less you're going to pay in ad spend. The higher your conversion ratio is, the more profit. That brings profit. Relevancy equals profit. In the online world, in fact, anything to do with advertising. If you look at it from those goggles, that's it. Relevancy equals profit. So yeah, thanks for that, Ted. I like that one. I always like those riddle ones.
Speaking of relevancy.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, Lewis.
Go ahead, Gwen.
Okay, I just was curious if we had time. I've got a almost a 40-second ad I'm working on. It's going to go to a landing page, and I'm just curious if it's enough to catch people's attention.
Oh, sure. Well, let's see it. Let's take a look and see.
Okay. Got to full page it so I can find my share screen here.
Careful what's up on your screen there before you share.
I've got 1,000 things on my screen at the moment. I can get the right one up. And this is still kind of a rough.
All right, it looks like we're
praying for a good harvest. Not research your plan. That's where we fail. 80% of success online is made up of research and strategy. This is a limited time offer. Click here to find out more.
all right. So that's you're creating a video ad. Is that it?
Right. The idea is to get the ad to I'm thinking for LinkedIn, put it on enough to get them to click on it to go to a landing page.
Okay. What you really need to do, what I didn't see there was I didn't see anything that ties to their desired outcome.
Ah, okay.
That's a big factor. When you connect to something that they want and then you show them, here's the thing you're missing, and then the call to action of learn more about it, then you'll get them to click. But you're basically, with this one, what I saw was you were making a statement that didn't really have any relevance to their desired outcome.
Okay, so stop paying the Google Guides wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that, stop paying the Google Gods, that's kind of a tagline to a statement.
Right.
So, or a question. You might say, you might ask them, are your Google ads profitable? And then you might change your tagline to stop throwing your profits out to the Google gods.
Yeah, that's an idea.
You share enough dollars with them, keep the profits to yourself.
Could
So
you replay that?
if they're running ads and their intent is to make profit or to sell more product or to build their mailing list, whatever it is that they're trying to do, that's what you need to key in on and tell them you have a better way. You understand their pain, you know what's happening, and you know the reason why, and you're willing to share so they can fix it.
So segment it more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay to have some generic type of ads that lead into a generic type of lead magnet, but ultimately, if you want to get them into like a sequence where you're going to try and educate them, you probably need to get them down a little closer.
Okay.
And then the other thing, the learn more, what are they going to get when they learn more? Are they going to a landing page with a video sales letter? Or?
It goes to the landing page that I popped up a couple of weeks ago of the hate throwing your money to the Google gods landing page. So it's going for a call. I'm kind of playing with it, going, maybe this would be better for ads.
Well, let me ask you this: Did you base it all on a big idea?
Well, yes.
Okay, because the idea is to make the big idea, and then on the other side make the offer, and then once you have the offer is really clear of where you're going to lead them, your desired outcome of this action, and then the big idea really becomes the ad, and then you figure out, okay, of the offer, what can we sliver off to give them a little taste of the result? And that's typically like your free giveaway. Like if you're offering them a system or you're offering them a service, let's say the service is the ultimate thing that you want to sell, you could give them a PDF that shows them, hey, here's kind of an outline of our process. It's not telling you exactly how we do, but it's giving you an outline of why this process works when everything else you're trying isn't working. And you give them that as a PDF. The PDF just gives them like a blueprint, but it doesn't explain it.
Right.
So after you've given them the PDF, say, I created a really cool little short video for you to explain this so you can really get a deep understanding of what makes this go and how to put this to work in your own business. And then you take them to that video. That's your video sales letter. That's where you get all your key points across. You build their demand and desire that, hey, I really want this outcome. I believe now this is the thing that's going to do it. And then at that point, you figure out, what would their objections be? Would they have a price objection? Or if they have a price objection, then you haven't created a lopsided value proposition. You haven't clearly stated how much this is actually going to benefit them, and if they don't do it, how much it's going to cost them. So you might need a claim proof benefit statement there that has to do with the price. If they have an objection of they think it's too technical, then you need a claim proof benefit statement there to overcome that. Because that's really your goal. Once you get them juiced up and they're excited about it and they actually want it, all you have to do is eliminate the objections, identify them, eliminate them, and then have your call to action. And you should be able to have a pretty good conversion ratio with that.
What's the average length of a video sales letter?
There's really no average length. What I can tell you is the higher the cost of the item for sale, the more it takes. So if you've got if you're selling a $10 thing, you don't need an hour-long sales video. You might need a 5-minute sales video. If you're selling something that's going to cost $10,000, you might need a series of 4-hour-long videos. You know,
Okay.
it's basically the more it costs, the more objections you're going to run into, the more you're going to have to build the benefits, the more you're going to have to create that lopsided value proposition. It's going to take longer time. So that's really what I can tell you is the higher the cost, the longer the process. You know, it might even be broken up into multiple stages. That's where, like when you see these product launch, the product launch formula, that is built to sell a $2,000 info product. You know, you got to put a lot of effort to make a $2,000 info product a lopsided value proposition. So they do it in 4 pieces. They basically do a webinar 4 times, and the first 3 are based on the 3 things they're going to get out of the thing and why they can't live without it. And then the 4th one is really just addressing the objections and making the offer. So that, and again, that system is based on selling a $2,000 info product up to $10,000 info products. It's not made for, you know, a $47 thing. If you can imagine, if you're selling a $47 software product and you made people go through 4 hours of video, no way. Not going to happen.
You lose them. Right.
Yeah. But, you know, for a $47 piece of software or whatever it is, an ebook or whatever, you know, probably 10 minutes, probably good enough. It just depends on how long it's going to take you to create the demand and desire, build that lopsided value proposition, and eliminate their objections. So the smaller the dollar amount, the less of that you have to do.
Okay.
You don't have to, you know, build a $10,000 value proposition for a $47 item.
Right. Okay.
But that's really the process and the sequence that we've kind of flushed together now with ACT, working with the apprentices, is we take the big idea on the front end, we take the offer on the back end, we figure out, okay, what's going to be the first thing we can offer them to hook them and get their email address so we can deliver our marketing material. And, you know, a lot of times it's a simple PDF, sometimes it's a video, and it's always based on learning how to get what they want. Always. That's always what it's about. It's either about how to get what they want or eliminate a pain, or, you know, and it's the same thing. If you have a pain, what you want is to get rid of it. So it's all about what they want.
Okay, so I need it more direct.
Yeah. Now, sometimes a big idea might be based on something that is in the unknown category. You know, like with the pyramid of awareness, the biggest opportunity lies in the base of the pyramid where they're completely unaware. You know, they might have a problem, but they're completely unaware of it. They're unaware it's a problem, you know, and they're not thinking about it because it's not top of mind. Perfect example of that is Perry Belcher, his nail biting PDF. You know, a lot of people bite their nails, but nobody realizes it's a problem. You know, it's just something they do. But he came across that and said, you know, he geared his ad toward business people. And he said, look, you know, impressions matter. If you've got a bunch of, you know, ratted up nails, people are going to see that and they're going to get turned off by it. So all of a sudden now they look and they realize they just became aware that they have a problem. You know, and now this problem is now in NLP, they call that being reticularly activated. It's like when you buy let's say you buy a red VW and now you're aware of a red VW. Last week you didn't see any red VWs on the road, but now you see them everywhere. The fact is they were there last week, you just weren't reticularly activated to see them. They weren't in your scope of awareness. So when you bring a problem into that scope of awareness, now they start seeing it everywhere. That's why retargeting works so well. When they're reticularly activated, they will now see your ads. They'll see them in the retargeting zone. That's why retargeting works so good.
Mm-hmm.
It's all has to do with that awareness. You know, once they're aware, they see things. They see things they didn't see yesterday. So if you run, let's say you ran an ad out that had something to do with nail biting, and you hadn't activated them to that being a problem yet, they wouldn't see it. It would just be something that it just flew by them, and it went right over their head. They didn't even see it. But once they realize, hey, I have a problem, my problem is nail biting, and then they see a nail biting ad, that's going to grab their attention. So that's how that works. That's why it's, you know, that pyramid, the base of that pyramid is really, really powerful. If you can find something that people have a problem with that they're not aware of, and you can grab their attention somehow, and you can make them aware of the problem and then pull them into your marketing sequence, that is by far the biggest opportunity. Agura does this really, really well. Agura Publishing, what they do is they run these ads out that are their attention grabbers. They basically state that you have a problem, you know, or they state that, you know, the dollar is in for a crash. You know, they'll run an ad like that, like the dollar is in for a crash. You're about to lose your future retirement. And you're like, holy shit, you know, I've got a problem that I didn't have 5 minutes ago. And that's really intriguing, and now I want to learn about it. I want to learn how to protect my financial future, because I didn't know, you know, 5 minutes ago, I didn't know the dollar was about to lose its value. But now that I've been activated to see that, now I'm going to start looking for that. And the first place I'm going to look is right under my nose, where they're offering me the information. So those ads, you want to figure out what kind of ad can you run that will reticularly activate a problem, and then make it easy. Say, here, you want to learn more? Now they'll click the button.
Okay.
But
something a little more grabbing and really stating the desired outcome.
Yeah. And the more I learn about this stuff, the more I realize it really has to be bold. It really has to be in your face to get it to work. Because think about it, you're in a market where there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise, and there's a lot of people saying the same thing. So if you're going to grab their attention, you can't do that. You cannot say the same thing. You can't whisper. They're not going to hear you. You've got to, like, you know, get up on a stool and yell at the top of your lungs. And, you know, a lot of us, that's just not our personality. But if we're going to be good marketers, that's what we have to do in the marketing world. You know, we can still be, you know, quiet and shy at home, but in our marketing, we've got to scream. So it's, you know.
So John, can I say? Oh, I'm sorry.
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead, Ted.
Excuse me. I was just wanted to tell Gwen that SlideShare is owned by LinkedIn, and I know LinkedIn's pretty expensive to advertise. You may want to go on to SlideShare and see. You know, I just typed in Google Ads, and there's a bunch of stuff on there. You might want to check it out.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you, Ed.
Yeah, that's all right. So was there anything else you wanted to show us here, Gwen?
Nope, that was it. I will take the screen share off.
Okay.
Just wanted feedback on that, because I've been kind of working on that this week, and wasn't ready to go out, but wasn't sure which way to take it.
Yeah. So does that help? Does that make it a little clearer? Getting
yeah, it does. I think I'm gonna
gotta
start
get
with,
in your face. You gotta.
Yeah, big desired outcome, and then talk about how much you're losing because
look at the. Did you get the section in ACT that talks about? Let me look here. Let me see what it is. The big idea worksheet.
I probably do have it.
Probably, and this is something for everybody. If you guys look at the big idea section, that is really a key component of all of this, because that's the first step, you know. There you go. You got your book in front of you.
It is in reach.
But if you go into the tutorials, go online and actually watch that video. Watch the video on the big idea. And that'll make things a lot clearer on that. And that really is, after you've done your analysis and you've identified who you're after, and you know what makes them tick, you know what they're looking for, you know what they're after, do that big idea exercise and come up with your big idea, because that's going to be the foundation of your creation moving forward. Yeah.
Now, I had it, but I'll go ahead and rewatch it again and maybe try to refine it some and see what I can come up with.
Yeah, because that's like, you know, if you miss that first step, then your ad's not going to convert. You're never going to get anybody onto your message. So that's really a foundational step, is coming up with a really, really strong big idea.
Okay, well, I'll rewatch that again and see if
And I'm pretty sure I put the document up, but I'll go ahead and make sure that it's up in the members area for everybody else, and I'll send it to you specifically so you got it in front of you.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Anything else before we wrap up here?
Just like to remind you, I'd love to see a video.
On the keyword research?
Yes.
All right. We will see what we can do there. I'm going to do another video too, actually going through Influencer Spy. And Jason just did one. You know, that's his product. He just did another webinar walkthrough on it. And I haven't had a chance to watch the video. I was going to take the video into Camtasia and cut out all the mumbo jumbo, because I know anytime anybody does one of these trainings, you get 10 minutes worth of training inside of 45 minutes worth of other stuff. So I'm going to go through and kind of slice and dice and put that together.
Don, say what Influencer Spy is. I haven't heard of that one.
Mary Sue, I couldn't hear you there. Try that again.
Say what Influencer Spy is. I haven't heard of that one.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, it's an online program rather, that finds influencers out there that have audiences, and it tells you how engaged their audience is, so you can reach out to them to have them either promote your products or do joint ventures with them, like affiliate offers.
Okay.
So I was talking about that a little earlier on the call about, you know, that's a great source of traffic, and it eliminates, you know, having to spend a bunch of money on ads, and kind of reverses the risk, so to speak. So if you get somebody else that'll promote you and just take a commission, that takes the burden off of you for advertising, because you're only paying for results. So,
okay.
So it's a cool product. So I'll do a video on that one. All right, so that's it for today. We'll go ahead and wrap up, and I'll send that over to you, Gwen, so look for it here in a couple minutes.
Will do. Thank you.
And we will talk to you guys next week.